Hey everyone, if you have ever heard about the different types of debt out there, commonly referred to as good debt and bad debt, and want to know why what you've been told is likely incorrect, stick around and we'll go through it together. If you're new to my videos, welcome. My name is John Cummings. I'm with Better Homes and Gardens Castleton Realty. If you're here or new to the channel, you clearly want to learn more about budgeting, financial independence, home purchases, investments, any of those things I discuss on my channel. And if you like my videos, feel free to subscribe and you'll see some more of my content. So today's topic, it's highly debatable. I think a lot of people talk about it. Some people fear it, some people love it. And that is debt and how it's categorized by many people, most people, in either the good category or the bad category. And I'd like to discuss today, why that's that's a wrong way to talk about debt, to describe debt. And that's how most people go about doing it. They say it's either good or bad, and it could help you or hurt you. And while this may be correct, there are some caveats here that are definitely worth discussing and thinking about before you make some sort of decision with debt. And just to start, let's go over what most people commonly refer to as good debt and bad debt. So good debt, most commonly defined as debt that can help increase your income or your net worth, basically helping your financial situation. And some common examples of this are student loan debts, home mortgages, um, small business loans, even home equity line of credit. A lot of people consider those to be good debt, and they typically come with a lower interest rate and a fixed interest rate, and that's pretty key. There is if you are taking on some sort of debt, usually better to get a fixed rate so you know exactly what you're going to be paying every month until you pay that loan off. With an adjustable rate, obviously it adjusts based on how the market conditions are. Right now, as rates go up, variable rate loans are increasing, so it makes it more difficult to make those payments. Um, Now going back to bad debt, a lot of times this is variable rate um, or higher interest rate, but it's most commonly defined as a debt that decreases your financial situation, and it's usually used for rapidly depreciating purchases. And that's really the key with bad debt is if you're using it for something that's just going to depreciate right away and it's not helping you out, then it's usually considered bad debt. So common examples of this would be number one, credit card debt. Most people talk about credit card debt, and it is one of the largest issues in the U.S. Credit card debt. I think the average individual is in about $5,000 of credit card debt at any given time. Payday loans, auto loans, personal loans. Those are the types of loans or debt products that are usually considered bad debt. So now that we've defined them and categorized them as they usually are presented, you might be wondering, how could this be wrong? It seems pretty straightforward, and for the most part, yes, it is. But there are, again, like I said, there's some caveats with these types of debt products. And to show this, I want to just go back to the examples that I just provided of both good and bad debt, and we'll talk about them. So a prime example of how a debt could turn from good to bad or bad to good is student loan debt. So another hot topic about student loan debt. Obviously, going to college could 100% help you to achieve new heights in your career, help you advance your financial position, get a higher rate of pay, and advance your career. 100%. But again, there is a little catch to this, and that is that you actually have to use that degree that you paid for. So, I mean, you could Google, the statistics on this, but general consensus is that about only 27% of college graduates actually use their degree that they went for. So, I mean, if you think about that for a second, you're going in you get a degree and you maybe paid between $30,000 and $100,000 for this degree. You likely took on some student loans for that. I know I did, and I had to pay them off. But if you didn't use this degree, you basically invested, all that money into nothing. And, maybe you didn't even finish your degree. Then you didn't even have a chance of using that degree. So that investment basically was all for nothing. So in that case, for, about 70 to 75% of the people who get a college degree, it's bad debt. So most people go out there and say, well, student loans are good debt. Well, not necessarily. If you're not going to use it for anything, it's bad debt. And a lot of people out there, they can't purchase a home because they have too many student loans. So it's really something that is holding them back. And if they had just, done the due diligence earlier, maybe they wouldn't have gone through with getting that, that far into debt for a student loan. Same thing could be said about home mortgages or small business loans. I mean, if you get a small business loan and you decide you don't like the business after you get the loan, well, now you're on the hook for it, and it turns into bad debt pretty quickly. Same thing with a home mortgage. If, let's say you buy an investment property and you just never get a renter in there, or you never flip the property, I mean, that just, it turns into bad debt very quickly, and you could, end up hurting yourself very easily if you don't make sure you're doing your due diligence on what you're doing with the debt. So now that we went over how good debt could turn to bad, you might be wondering, well, can bad debt turn good? And yeah, there are definitely cases where this is so. And one that I'd like to point out is credit card debt. That's probably, again, I think most people agree that racking up your credit cards isn't really a good idea. It's hard to get out from your credit card debt. I think that average interest rate's about 16% on a credit card. So every month you got to pay that 16% that you don't pay off that principal. And really, that's exactly what it is. It's a loan. You're just because it's easier to get and you're using a card, it's a loan. So you kind of have to think of it that way, and you are paying interest on that every single month that you don't pay that off. But there are definitely scenarios where you could use your credit cards to help your situation out. And one that I've seen in the past couple of years that's been pretty common is for Airbnb, to start an Airbnb. So let's just say, for example, you have an unused space. Maybe it's a small building off your property. Maybe you're converting a garage. Whatever the case may be, let's just assume you have some an unused space that you could turn into an Airbnb. Now, based on the research I've done, there's, the average Airbnb host could make about $3,500 a month from hosting on Airbnb. Now, obviously, this varies, but let's just go with the average of $3,500 a month. Let's say you don't have the $3,500, so you decide you're going to use your credit card to, for the startup costs for the Airbnb, the furnishing, getting the space ready, and that maybe I think the average to start an Airbnb is, between $7,000 and $10,000. So you rack up your credit card, you start the Airbnb, just going based off of the averages, an average of $3,500 a month and an average cost to start up an Airbnb being $7,000, even let's just say $10,000. Within 2-3 months, you could pay that off using the Airbnb money. And then after 3 months, you have a successful Airbnb that's cash flowing quite a bit of money for you. So, even racking up your credit card could be a good thing. It just depends on what you're using that for. And this is the main point of the video, is that what we're told is wrong, because most people think of these things in terms of black and white, good and bad. And it's really not the case. We really need to do our due diligence and see, how could this debt affect me? Do a cost benefit analysis. If you have an opportunity and you need to use debt to seize the opportunity, what is the goal? How likely are you to achieve that, and what's the risks if you don't achieve that? And you take all of that into consideration when you take on debt. And then you make a decision. Now, does it always work out for you? No, but if you're going to do due diligence, most of the times you'll be okay. But I definitely encourage you all to, don't just take everyone's word for it. This is good debt, this is bad debt. Don't do this, don't do that. Make sure you do your homework on what you're striving for. Not everything is just black and white and able to be fit nice and tight into a little category or a box. You kind of have to think outside of those terms a lot of the times. So, just a question for you guys. Have you ever used, a creative form of debt to advance your financial position? Or on the flip side, have you ever, had what would be considered good debt and quickly turned onto you into bad debt? I'd love to hear your experience. Put it in the comments below, and we can discuss. Um, but again, guys, just remember the key to this is you don't just take everything at face value. Good, bad, black, white. It's not always the case. Make sure that you're thinking everything through and you're doing your analysis on how good debt or bad debt could potentially help you or hurt you in the long run. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your time. As always, subscribe if you like the videos and you can see more of my content. And I'll see you again next time.